Welcome to Whatever Dude, starring your host, John Leach.
Woo! All right. Oh yeah.
Whoop whoop.
All right. So we're here with Whatever Dude, starring John Leach. How's it going, John?
Oh, it's fantastic, man. I'm feeling really big, a little on the orange and gray scale, but here it's great to be here with Ant Media and my good friends Anthony Height and Josh, the Josh, in certain circles.
Don't forget it.
Josh the Josh Doyle.
The Josh Doyle. Yeah, that's it. I knew it was something like that.
That name has stuck with me for years.
Josh the Josh.
Josh the Josh. But it's great to be here and just to be in this environment and be able to think, explore, possibly explode even in a place like this. But it's awfully tidy for now, so we'll try and keep the explosions to a minimum.
Please try to keep them to a minimum.
We can't rebuild the studio every episode.
For John's, we can.
Yeah, we gotta pay cleaners to come in.
John's is the
after that.
Apocalypse Now of podcasts. So thanks for coming in, John.
Thanks for having me.
I know so John Leach, I've known John Leach for good many years now. 10, maybe less than 10, but still through my formative years early on. And then we freelanced together doing AV work. And then he would always impart knowledge onto me, such as when you're drinking whiskey, don't climb onto a roof. And
Yes.
by this point in my life, I had already done plenty of that. But we got to become really good friends, and we've worked together on many different projects. When I started this video production company, when it was just actually made with one of the cameras that we're shooting on right now, we made a little music video called The Vegan Cowboy together.
It was a
That's
big
right.
music video.
Yeah, it was big. It was
Massive.
big. It was a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a few days, really, like realistically. And then,
still gets a lot of likes on Facebook.
yeah. And that's really the only reason we do it is for the likes. For you people. But it was a cool song. I mean, it was an awesome song. That and Meat Free Monday we shot that at the produce place. And that was like one of those songs that still, when I hear California Dreaming by the Mamas and the Papas, I only think of Meat Free Monday. Like, I'm always just like, I hear your voice singing it, not the Mamas and the Papas anymore. But so we've been through it a lot together, and we've been friends. And we'd go over. I'd have dinner over there, or after we would record The Vegan Cowboy, he would make us a steak or have some tea. And then we've always been in touch over there.
Hold on.
The
Vegan Cowboy, and then you guys would eat steak.
That's correct.
Or you would just cook the steak and not eat it, right?
No, I'm not actually. And I try to make this clear to people involved in the project. I'm not actually a vegan nor a cowboy.
Ah, so you're a comedian, eh?
No, well, I believe in, entertainment value and working
Parody
with
writer,
characters
yeah.
and
Okay.
themes.
All right.
Yeah.
I dig that.
And it was really my wife's project. My wife, Helen, said if I would write songs about veganism, she would pay to produce them.
And she did. I
And
think
she did,
That was
yeah.
one of my well-paying jobs. Helen paid very well. And
Yeah, she was cool about that.
she was an executive producer.
She was
so-
the EP.
the EP.
That's
yeah.
rich.
So so we've been talking. You've gone through some, events in your life recently that have been that have kind of changed the direction of your life. And I think you're one of those people when I talk to. You're always very level-headed about what you're talking about, the direction of your life, and you're very good at just taking it all in. And I think you have a very academic approach to everything you do, or at least your thought process is a little bit more academic than maybe mine, or I don't know. I feel like you have that perspective that many people don't have of a sage person. I mean, you look very sage-like. I mean, look at you.
It's just because there's no color left in my hair.
You would either listen to you or completely avoid you. But myself, I listen to you.
Plenty of both.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So I wanted to kind of open it up with that. He's a really good friend, and he's got a lot of knowledge to share from the past, present, and the future. He's a musician. He's very talented. He volunteers his time to help the elderly. He plays music for the elderly. He does so much stuff that I couldn't even cover here. And he lived the rock and roll lifestyle for a good portion of his life and traveled the world, traveled Europe. Correct. I don't want to butcher anything. This is just stuff in passing, so you can tell it all. But that's what we're here for. And when I asked him what the name of it was, he said, "Whatever, dude." So that's what he wanted to call it, Whatever Dude. And so it's pretty much about whatever, dude. Whatever you could think, as you see on the screen there. There's Whatever Dude. And then so we brought Josh in because he's just hanging around here anyway. So.
And he does have color in his hair.
Like color and
yin and yang kind of a thing.
If I didn't have the hat, I would look older than you.
It's true. So it was really John, thank you again.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Really, it's a big day for me.
Yeah, well, it's a big day for us. I mean,
because I had to call my probation officer and everything.
Oh man,
tell them that you're going.
Bracelet. I mean, those bracelets are hard to get off.
They see you traveling down 95. They ask questions too.
Put it on one of the cattle at your farm.
Yeah,
He's just walking around in the pasture.
Yeah, just walking around with that bracelet on.
I'm still here.
Yeah. So, it's great to be here, and I know, obviously you've got a couple of yes, and Anthony and I, we've known each other a long time. He's a very talented young man, enviable. A lot of the things that he's accomplished, and I think that we've had a sort of a mutual respect society over the years between the two of us, and I look up to Anthony quite a bit for his talent, his drive, his commitment. And
it's just pretty much fueled anxiety. That's all it is.
Hey, whatever,
whatever you want to call it.
You can color it nicely, but I appreciate that. John.
Whatever you put in the car and drive it. He created all this this is his vision,
right?
His dream, and he's going forward. And his dreams are obviously very tidy.
Thank you. Well, Josh, I will give credit where it's due. Josh did just clean this before you came.
Thank you.
He came in and he vacuumed and did all that and prettied it up. So thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It looks like my Aunt Catherine's living room or something, except with the baffling
shy of the plastic on the furniture.
Yeah, I like the orange. That's always a good call. I think orange is a very manly color.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Supposed to evoke different emotions, but we were thinking about maybe going.
What were you thinking about with orange?
I guess just being creative, having coming in and something that would grab you, wake you up, and then be creative. But it wasn't supposed to be so much orange. It was supposed to be orange on the side walls, and then this became an accent because we were building these soundproofing windows, audio panels, soundproof panels. So it wasn't supposed to be the orange on the forefront. So that's why we got the curtains, and we'll probably get some curtains up there. So when people come in, they're not like, what's with all the orange? But anyway, this is about you, John.
I got a little orange trivia for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
You ready?
What rhymes with it?
Donald Trump.
No. Here we go. Okay, I believe that orange is a very manly color. Men seem attracted to the color orange. Why do I say that? Well, there's 3 major American corporations that use pretty much this color orange as their main logo color. Now, they market to men. They're manly things. Why do men like orange? And they're major corporations, and they're also retail corporations. They are all located here in Melbourne, Florida. Well, in Brevard County. We're here in Brevard County, Florida.
Right.
So can you think of 3 major retail corporations that cater primarily to men that use this color orange as their logo color?
Harley Davidson.
Bingo. We got one right there.
Numero uno. First thing I go to, which is going to be wrong, is Whataburger. They're no longer around. They did use the orange.
Okay.
PNC Bank also uses orange and blue, but I'm
Not
sure that's not a
primarily,
man.
A
That's
little
not a
more
manly.
manly. A little more manly.
Yeah.
A little more Tim
orange
Allen.
is primarily their color.
A little more Tim Allen, maybe.
Oh,
Home
Depot.
Improvement.
Home
Oh,
Depot.
I knew there was a home in there.
What?
One more. There's one more right here in Brevard County. We've got a couple of them. Retail outlets. Majorly orange, and you like it.
Ooh, this is good. I like this.
Oh man.
Hooters.
Hooters.
Oh,
Okay.
I get everybody on Hooters.
Oh man.
So do you ask this question a lot?
I do, yeah.
That's a good one.
Everyone you ask is baffled.
Usually you don't get Harley though right off the bat like that.
That was good.
They
Yeah.
got to struggle for Harley.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was going to be a reoccurring bit that each week we would do a different color.
We could.
I did.
Yeah.
I had to do design a Harley Davidson website once, not for Harley Davidson, but a dealer. So I don't know why. Maybe that's why it was right on my.
What was he dealing?
Harley Davidson.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay. Luckily.
Meth.
Yeah. I don't think that's orange.
His name was Harley Davidson.
Oh, I get it. Clever.
So, what brings us? I just wanted. The orange got me. Just wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
important.
Thanks for noticing
And for enlightening us on that branding.
the many flavors.
So
of
you're
orange.
in good company.
Good.
You should maybe have shorts.
And one of our
Ooh.
favorite one of our friends whose company is Rock Paper Simple, the company he works for anyway, that's their branding is orange as well.
Yeah, it's a very popular color.
You walk in the office and they have all orange everywhere. But so yeah, it is popular. It's a good color.
Wow, you even got coasters. I just noticed.
Oh yeah.
We do. Legit.
Hold that
Legit.
up. Yeah, coasters. That's big time.
That's
You
legit.
haven't made it until you have posters on your table.
That's really next level. I like it.
Yeah, thanks, dude. We dig it. We wanted. I also kind of wanted something that was different from the Ant, but so I put a microphone. The Ant Farm Media Podcast Studio. He's holding a microphone. That's the microphone he's holding. So I figured. So I'm not too branded in the room, just so people can use it at their discretion. But again, this is about you, John
So,
Leach.
where do you want to go from here?
So give us a little. So start. Where I know you had an agenda. I know you had some stuff planned out that you wanted to talk about. Some things. What are those things?
Well, a couple things I wanted to talk about. There's when I was invited to do this podcast, the reason I sort of went with whatever, dude. I have a lot of things that I like to pontificate on. Different subject matters. And you said academic. I think that's interesting.
You're an academic guy.
I like to, for a guy that never finished school. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, just to completely segue, just the things you would talk to me about. I remember one time we were driving down the road, and you just started talking to me about John Galt and just random on Rand Atlas Shrugged references. And then I remember one time Helen didn't put on her seatbelt, and you're like, she's what we would call a scofflaw, and you just have a wider vocabulary that in turn builds mine, and so I can use it. But it's always impressive to hear you talk.
I do read a lot. I do read a lot, and a lot of that. One of my high school buddies was just talking to me about that yesterday. That I don't have television.
Yeah, we talked
in
about
my
that
home.
before
We
the
talked
show.
about that a little earlier.
Mhm,
I don't believe in television, and that will kind of seg into some of the things I was hoping to talk about today. Is that I gave up television back in the early 1990s because I felt that there was too much negativity and violence on the television,
Right.
and I didn't want to bring that into my home. I try to keep my home peaceful and calm and positive.
Yeah, I like that.
And so when even commercials or TV commercials are quite often based on fear. Someone speaks and a green cloud comes out of their mouth. Oh no, do you have bad breath? And you're thinking all of a sudden, oh geez, should I speak? You don't know if you can speak or not without buying this product because maybe you have a green cloud coming out of your mouth that you haven't noticed. I mean, it goes down to the simplest things.
Right.
And so there's a fear component to it, which is why I try to keep really American mass media out of my home. And I was very successful at that for many years. And then we got into this thing, some might call it even a computer revolution. The computers, the internet, and then, when the internet first started, it had whatever values that it had, but then it sort of grew, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and more influential in so many ways. And when do you think this term social media, when did that come into being? I mean, what, in the last 10 years, 8 years? It's not even that old, I don't think.
You
No.
had Facebook came around in about 2006-ish. So I would say early 2000s is when it came on, and no one really thought it was going to turn into anything like it did. I mean, they knew it was important, but they thought it was for kids, and as we know now, it's like what kids do drives the culture eventually.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
But yeah, where exactly social media came from, let's see.
And how it's built into what it's built into now,
Right.
and how it now decides that, like, you know, they credit this last political election with social media,
Twitter.
And of course, when Barack Obama ran for president, they said, yeah, that dates us about 10 years.
Yep.
They said that he was the first one to utilize social media in his campaigning.
Wow.
Because it was brand new then.
Right.
So that's only 10 years, roughly.
Yep.
So
11, 12.
a quick Google search shows 1997 was when it was first coined. I guess there was a social media site, the first recognized social media site. It's called 6 Degrees, was created in 1997. It enables users to upload a profile, make friends with other users. So, and I guess there was MySpace after that at some point.
I
too.
would have said
yeah.
I would have said MySpace
Forgot
actually.
that one. See, I forgot that one. Yeah, that's going way
I know
back.
that was before Facebook. Nobody.
right.
When I remember when I was in college or when I would visit colleges, I only got a Facebook because that was what all the college girls were on. So if you wanted to hook up with a girl or meet a girl or talk to her more, you had to go on Facebook. So, but you had to put in your school, your university you were at. Otherwise, you couldn't sign up. And now it's for everybody. But back then, we were coming off MySpace. So interesting.
Right.
Yeah, no, that is interesting
Yeah.
because it's become really the deciding factor in, I think, the world culture, not even just American culture by any means. I was listening to something on the radio the other day about China, and they have We Speak or something. It's like a Snapchat or something, WeChat or something like that, and how the Chinese government censors it. So the Chinese people thinking that they could speak to each other through this platform, they can't because the government stops it. So therefore, they're not communicating. So it's become so prevalent that we've really begun to believe that that's all that there is.
Wow.
Now, the other day, I was going through some boxes of old photographs and things like that, and I came across a letter that my brother had sent me in 1990 after I just got married. And it was a very deep, intense, personal letter. I read it, and I was just floored by the sentiment, by what this letter said. And I realized that's probably the last letter he ever sent me. You know? And so I scanned it in the computer, and then I emailed it to him. And he read it, and he couldn't believe it either, that we communicated in that way, because there was so much, there was a privacy to it.
Right.
And there was a depth to it. So right now you might say personal message or even an email, but I don't think they have the weight of something that was printed on paper. That's why I found this piece of paper, and it's the edges are going brown and all that. It's like a document of a time.
And it's like kind of thinking too, when you think back to like nobody was as readily accessible. Like if you were out of the house, you were just out. Like you had to wait till you came home
That was
to
awesome.
watch, listen to your answer machine or something. And now it's like, yeah, you're always on. You're always connected. So if you don't pick up, there's no excuse really. You can't say anything. Like, even you can't be late for work because your alarm's on your phone. Like everything, there's no real excuse anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that bothers me.
Yeah.
I was much happier with it.
They're like, why didn't you call? Oh, my whatever. Like everybody's always plugged in. Like,
I had back in my day. It was middle 1980s, and I was the first person in the neighborhood to have a telephone answering machine.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I had a stripping telegram service.
I remember that. Yeah. Tell us more.
Yes, please. I have to know more about this.
It was called a Truly Tasteful Stripping Telegram Service, and in those days, you used to have.
Was this before or after the dragon tattoo on your hips?
This was
That's
before
for episode 2.
Yeah, that was before. This was before the dragon tattoo on my hip. That was in my LA rock star days. This was prior to that. So people would come up, and it was about this big, sort of a thing, about as big as a box of Whitman's chocolates or something.
Such vivid imagery.
I was going to say a phone book, but that works too.
Yeah, and it had a cassette tape in it. Those old Certron tapes, they're called CERTRON, Certron 90-minute tapes, and it would record. The telephone would activate the cassette player and record the message, and then you listen to it, and you could save these. And then you couldn't erase them or anything. They were there forever. So you could have these tapes. You talk about, recorded phone calls now. We had these physical tapes of these, of everything. Yep. And then when you got to the one side, you flipped it over, recorded that side, and typically you would throw it away. So that's where, that was, I guess you would call analog media, analog messaging. Yeah. But people would, when they come over my house, I had it sitting there by the phone, like a phone, big old phone thing.
People are impressed by your status symbol of an answer.
That? I'd say that's an answering machine. They'd be like, no way. And I go, yeah, check this out. Boom. And you'd play like a message from someone, and they go, that's crazy, man. It's like, it's the wave of the future.
That's crazy that was, to think back at a time when people were impressed by an answer machine, or amazed by an answer machine.
They were amazed. And like I say, I was the first one in the neighborhood to have one. So people would come over and stare at it as like the little wheel turned. Yeah.
I remember when families they would all huddle around the answering machine, and they would do a message as a family together. And you would get a minute or so into it, and then it would run out of time. You'd have to, all right, we got to start over and try it again. Yes. Like, damn it.
yes. Of course, it would just click off beep.
Yep. Yeah. Kids these days, and I mean, well, adults even now these days wouldn't probably don't remember those things. Interesting.
It was neat, and it was very functional.
Yeah,
and that was all you needed. Like you say, if you weren't home, you weren't home.
Right.
And that's it. So you couldn't answer your phone because you were at home. So at least you could have some private time to get away, or even tell people you weren't home. That phone could ring all day long, and you didn't pick it up. It was no big deal. Now you're chained to this electronic tether of some sort of even abstract communication that quite often I feel means very little. It's like, how come you didn't pick up? Because I didn't.
Yeah. I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm an adult.
Because I have a life.
Yes. And I can't tell you the amount of times people have said to me, why do you never pick up your phone? And because I don't want to.
Yeah.
And that
should be enough.
Yeah, but it's not.
Right.
It's not. That's kind of where I'm going with this new digital media overload. It's not enough. There's these expectations that are brought about by this social media.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the social media, that new projection of the communication systems that we're working with now that bring on that expectation. Like when back to Facebook, when I first got involved with Facebook, we gave each other rings. And I realized straight away that I got into more trouble for not talking to people than I did for talking to people. It's like people would say to me, I worked for a couple different, I've always juggled various jobs, and people post something, and they'll say, you didn't like my post. I'm like,
I'm guilty of saying that.
Yeah.
Time.
Actually, Anthony is guilty of saying that. And
well, I say it because people will be like, well, they'll do one or two things. They'll share my post and they won't interact with mine, but they'll make it their own or screenshot the meme or something. I'm like, what? You could share it, but you couldn't like mine?
Oh, he's the worst with that.
Or
even with me.
Or they'll come and I'll be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, I do this to my friends just to fuck with them. And I'm like, hey, so how's it going? And they're like, oh, good. Yeah. So I saw you were doing blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, you saw that, huh? That's interesting because I don't see any likes regarding that you saw me do that. Or did you just not like the fact that I was doing that? So it's mostly a messing with people, but at the same time, I'm like, just show some love.
No, you didn't like it. And then, oh man, but in the beginning.
That ties in with exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, see, now you're in trouble.
Yeah,
because you didn't interact with someone else's egotistical digital expression.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I actually have this physical life that I lead over here, like feeding horses and things.
Doing real things, yeah.
Yeah, and just because I don't live in your imaginary world of accomplishment,
Just like it.
You can't expect me to just walk in there and just kiss
Well,
your digital butt.
So I don't mind. Like, okay, so most people I don't mind. It's a lot of my friends, they form these companies or do things online, or they promote themselves and brand themselves, and they want me to support them. And I'm like, oh, so now you want me to support you in this endeavor, but before, like, you didn't like my video production page, you didn't like my podcast page, you didn't like all these things, but now you have a fucking crochet business or something and you want me to like that. So
yeah, your beadwork.
Yeah, so my thing is like, hey, exactly, or some like MLM or whatever they're in. I'm like, so just reciprocate, that's all. But I hear what you're saying. It's still, I mean, I mostly say jokingly, but I also say it like, I don't know. I guess I'm on the fence. Like, I'm half serious, half for real.
No, I mean, it's very important to you. I mean, look where we sit,
It's in the digital realm.
the orange shrine. And so
The shrine of manliness.
this is something I wanted to throw.
The fourth tier of Brevard County's manliness.
Bet you didn't realize quite how manly you were, did you?
I dig it
Ant-Man?
now.
Did
I'm
not.
excited.
Yeah, yeah. But this is so. I took a first step this morning, and I logged off of Facebook. I did. And I know I speak to younger people at times, not often, but I know that Facebook is for older people, much like myself. I'm in my middle 50s, and I know younger people are onto different platforms, I think they call them. So now that we've established these lines of communication, let's just say, like, I just went off of Facebook this morning.
Right.
So how am I going to communicate with people now? I mean, like, even Anthony, per se, we do the messages and our posts and things, and we communicate that way. I just mentioned earlier about my brother's letter from 1990. Am I going to start writing letters to people? Now, I could do that because I'm kind of into that sort of thing. But I don't think many people would. Let's just say if we got off, and I'm not talking about email or
Texts.
texts,
Like a pen pal.
all I'm talking about is strictly social media platforms.
Right.
So text or whatever, that's fine. Stick with those, your email, your phone calls, whatever. But if we just stopped the social medium, the Snapchat, the Instagram, the tweets, don't get me started on tweets.
We don't really tweet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Tweet. Don't
have
get
an
me
account.
started on tweets. I remember when that became an official word. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Webster recognized.
Yeah,
That's
tweet.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So don't get me started on tweet. But all these platforms that I know people use in a variety of fashions, they prefer this, they prefer that. What if that was to just stop? Would we communicate anymore? Are we just past communication between people, or do we rely on these platforms to somewhat do it for us?
I think we do.
I believe, I agree with that.
So this is kind of in the same vein, but maybe a little different. How do you feel about, I've seen this posted before where, like, it shows everybody on their phone and, like, we're distracted and we're on the subway and stuff, and, like, why don't we communicate with each other? Why don't we talk with each other? And then it shows a picture from, like, the 50s or 60s, everybody on the train reading a newspaper. So, like, and so we always found a way to kind of avoid publicly talking to people, somehow, some way. There was like a radio to go listen to, or a TV or something. Like, I mean, it's obviously more magnified and less personal, I think. But I mean, there's still more communication, but there's also the bad side of it.
Well,
I think we're more addicted.
I think it's a different context.
altogether,
I think we're mixing apples and oranges.
Absolutely.
Because on the subway, strangers, whatever, newspapers, sure, you don't want to.
yeah.
That's that. But I just contacted it. Just recently, an old childhood friend of mine, and he's been through the military and done lots of fantastic things in his life, and just a real cool dude. Well, we just reconnected through, again, Facebook, because I'm an old man. Now, we exchanged a couple pleasantries, and that's it. So, okay. But if we didn't have that social medium, we would not have reconnected.
Right.
But Does it freaking matter? I mean, whatever, dude. Okay, I mean, completely. Does that matter? No.
I guess it depends on your level of nostalgia towards, like how much.
Oh, wow, I talked to Pete Mucciarone.
I hope you're listening, Pete.
And it was cool, a couple pleasantries and mutual, it's great to hear from you, blah, blah. Okay, easily, both of us could go the rest of our lives without that encounter.
Right.
Sure.
So,
but it's kind of cool, right?
I'll give you that. This is what I'm trying to work out here.
Yeah.
Does it have value, or does it take away from value in our day to day, in our time, how we spend our time? One of the reasons that I turned off Facebook was because I was just spending too much time on it.
Right.
And I mean, I might as well start smoking cigarettes, for the damage it's doing to me. I mean, gosh, what are you going to have? You're going to have, lung cancer or brain brain funk or whatever from being hung up in somebody's Facebook disagreement or something that you find yourself stuck in. Like when you don't like one of Anthony's posts, all of a sudden you're in the shit.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me ever again.
I know. And I would have been better off outside smoking a cigarette.
And
for what that got me.
And today's episode is brought to you by Lucky Strikes.
The brand hasn't been around forever. I think what it started out was Facebook was very much for that being as being able to reach out to people you haven't spoke with in years and things like that. I think that's very much what it started as, and then it became just people bickering, people, putting their miseries and their woes and everything on there, which is more so nowadays what you find on there. I don't think it is an outlet to where you can find old friends and family members that you might not have spoken with in years. My father and I were estranged for many, many years, and my sister reached out to me, and that's how we're best friends now. And we've been back a part of each other's lives for over 15 years, about 12, and it started from Facebook. So very much so what it started out as, but I don't think it is nowadays by any means.
Well, yeah, that's one of the. I mean, that's a great example of that. Even unfortunately, my wife passed away a while back.
Yes, we talked about that.
We talked about that earlier, and I'm in a relationship with a new person now. She's wonderful. Her name's Patty, and we connected through Facebook. We went to school together.
Right.
Like I just said about Pete Mucciarone. Yo, Mooch.
The Mooch.
Yeah. But, through a mutual friend.
Mutual?
Yeah, mutual. Yeah. She had a mutual friend from the gang back in the day. She'd heard about my situation. She also lost her husband to cancer. And through this friend from the old gang, we connected. And I couldn't think of a greater, I'm glad that you said that, because that is really, that's a lot of value there. That's a lot of value to bring people together.
Absolutely.
In that way.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna I'd say hats off to you, but I don't think we want to see that.
No, nobody wants to see that right now.
But no, you're absolutely correct. So that is a great value in that regard. Okay, so that's the plus.
Let's get off that.
Let's get off that. But now the things with the confrontation, it's turned into television. It's another, like I said about TV earlier, about violence and negativity. I see so much negativity on this Facebook feed of mine. That's what they call it.
You're going to say Facebook.
No, is it a feed?
That's a completely different show.
Yeah.
Different app.
Different site, yeah. I get that one, my incognito thingy.
I won't log off of that one.
Yeah, I think it's on RedTube or something. But but then people also transmit all their emotions and all this negativity, and when they're angry about something. And I found so much negativity flowing into my home. Like I cut out the TV, but now I have it coming from the people are just angry.
Yeah,
and maybe that's indicative of our culture, but I see more anger than I see hope. I mean, maybe that's just my friends or associates even, because I don't know, am I the only person that knows?
No.
Only like half the people on my Facebook feed. It is a feed. You call it a feed, right?
Yeah.
Most of these people I don't know. I know from around town because I was trying to promote things, my events, my gigs. So you try
and you're like, why am I friends with this person?
Yeah, why am I friends with this
extreme
person?
political views.
Yeah, or they're just emotional diatribes.
Yeah, right. There's plenty of that. It's
right.
Dude, vent to your friend, not to Facebook.
Yeah. And so it brings in a lot of negativity. But Josh, you made a great point. I'm glad you made that point. And I'm so thankful for what that part of social media has brought to my life. Without it, I might not have that. And so I'm glad to.
But it's also good that you're taking the next step, and you've reconnected with somebody,
right?
And that's coming to your life because of Facebook, and that's great. But you're also like, okay, now you have this life, so now you see that it's like more detrimental than positive anymore.
Right.
And
yeah. Well, now that now that I got somebody in my life, I can just turn it off. Yeah.
Well, maybe
I don't need it now.
If she leaves, go back on. You know?
Yeah. I got everything I need from you, Facebook.
Score.
Done and done.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I don't agree with what you were saying by any means. I do. I was just giving a different perspective.
Yeah, well, you're right.
But 100%, I do believe. That's why I said, nowadays it's so much more people's bickerings and their nasty attitudes and their nasty outlooks on life that you see. It is very deterring. It is very, I don't want to see that. I've actually muted people on my Facebook page because
that's the best thing to do.
Right. Because I don't believe in their political views, or I don't believe in, their just views on life. And I don't want that negativity on my feed or on my wall or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's what really has made a lot of people move away from Facebook and go to different outlets like Instagram and other things like that. So I see where you're coming from. I was just offering a different view on it.
Yeah, well,
a relatable view apparently.
And then there's the commercials. I mean, heavens to Betsy. You should. I don't know about you guys, but boy, I get some weird commercials on mine.
You mean ads, different ads that pop up?
Yeah.
Like
wow.
Wish ads?
Yes, Wish. Yes.
Yeah.
Things I knew nothing about.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me blush.
That's a weird
Tell us more, John.
There's like weird gags and like, hey, it's something you might be interested in. Be like, what?
Yeah.
That's another one.
This
I
may
blocked.
interest you. Oh, heavens.
Sure?
Gags. Speaking of Facebook.
Yeah.
Back to that.
Oh,
Our
very
sponsor.
true. Yeah. Crazy, man. What's interesting to know these things are out there. There's a little bit of education there in alternative lifestyles and things.
Yeah.
By this point in my
Internet
life, maybe
has no shortage of learning about those.
I know. Maybe I should have known more about these things, but I'm catching up, I guess. Thank you, Wish. I mean, and whoever, and you'll get like these dating sites come up.
Well, a lot of that is learning your behaviors too. So through your phone and through your web browsing and stuff.
Well, I know. At least I've seen on like the dating sites that your friend, whoever's on your friends list. I've got over 500 so-called friends or whatever, but so and so like Match.com. So then you got to figure, well, you're in that age group,
right?
You're a guy, you're this, and so that comes your way because it's their proclivities, not my own,
right?
Although hippiedating.com, that was pretty accurate, but a lot of the other ones, I don't know. Wish, woo, boy, heavens, scary. That must be some of my other friends. That
no Christian mingle.
That
farmers only
come up. I got farmers and homesteaders and stuff like that because we kept horses. We had a horse ranch.
Right, yeah.
So I guess you post enough horses and people think you're interested. Yeah. I've seen that one. Yes, I've seen that one. But so there are certainly pluses and minuses to it. But I think the main reason for me is as I touched on earlier, to get off is that it was just taking up too much time, and I was starting to feel compelled. People say you're addicted to cigarettes, or you're addicted to booze, or you're addicted, that word is so bandied about now, and for so many things. And I thought, am I getting addicted to this? I see, I want to keep coming back, You know, I'll vacuum the floor and then I'll check my Facebook, and then I'll take the trash out and then I'll check my Facebook. Makes me sound very tidy, but I just wanted to present it that way.
You do a lot of housework.
Yes, that's me on my own now. You know, that trash won't take itself out.
What do you do though? Like, what are you find taking up your time now? So you're kind of in a new chapter of your life.
I am, yes, and I'm trying to find myself. This project is part of that. I'm trying to reach out. I didn't do anything creatively, or really. My work is generally creative in one sense or other. I made that record we talked about earlier. I made a record earlier in the year.
Yeah.
5 songs. I went off to see my buddy Andrew Marcus in Knoxville and recorded a record I'm very proud of.
Shout out to Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And but I'm trying to find new creative outlets. Now, up until now, I've worked primarily as a live performer, as an event host. I DJ weddings, DJ corporate events, play guitar. I entertain people in a live setting.
Right.
And
you've got a great voice for it.
Thanks. And you've got a great beard for it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. And so now I don't really feel that ego, that sort of I want to be the center of attention thing that I've had my whole life. So I feel just I'd like to continue to create in some form. I don't quite know what that is yet. So this podcast is a great opportunity for me to come in and at least try and present something creatively.
Absolutely.
To create something. And I know this will have this stuff never goes away. This is going to go up to Mars, you know.
Yeah, this is forever.
Yeah, this
will
is
be around forever.
I know, it's forever. So I know it'll be there forever. So therefore, it is it's permanent. It was part of the thing that I always liked about live performance work was that it was live. It was there, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I'd rather make sandcastles than paintings because I'd like for them to be there and then gone.
Right.
So a live gig, you're either there or you're not. And even a film of it, you know, you're not there. So this is the new world, I guess. I'm going to have to get accustomed to, and hopefully I can continue to create in some form or other, because even all the stuff that's on the internet, even all these posts we're talking about. This is something I thought about years ago when it started to develop, was it's still all the written word. People get hung up because it's not books. Oh, you got to read books. Well, you spend all day reading the internet, your Facebook, your whatever. It's all reading. Very poorly written.
Yeah, I was going to say, not really learning any new vocabulary from it.
It's rather poorly written, but you're still reading, you know. I wonder if maybe there is some literary websites or something that I don't even know about because I don't follow them, but where you could learn some vocabulary. Word of the day, pernicious.
Is that on dictionary.com?
I don't know. Just type it in.
I have the word of the day calendar on my phone.
Oh, right. No. I used it in a sentence this morning. Pernicious. Yeah, and it's like bad in a subtle manner over time. Something that happens that's not really very good, but it's subtle, and it takes some time for it to come out before you realize how bad it is. That's something that's pernicious.
I like that.
Like if I just slapped you right now, that would just be bad, instant, and boom. You know, that was not cool. But you know, something more.
If you were slowly
pernicious.
Crushing glass and putting it in his food.
Put it in his food, yeah. Like, a little bit of hemlock or something, like poisoning someone, that would be more.
This is really crunchy noodles here.
Be more
My
pernicious.
gums are bleeding.
So that would be more pernicious, a way to hurt someone.
I like to frequent urbandictionary.com.
Yes. Hence your experience with Wish and whatnot.
That's why. That explains
that explains it.
his habits.
Yeah. Let's not get into elderly woodwind instruments right now.
So speaking of the music you created, what inspired, I guess as a two-part question, what inspired your CD, and what was, and you know, what do you want to come of the CD? Like, I know, one, you're trying to escape kind of being the center of attention, even though you're on a podcast where you're the center of attention. No.
I know. See, it's just a new medium.
It never ends.
Look at me.
Well, this is kind of where you belong.
Look at me.
If anything, you need to be imparting your knowledge is kind of what I know why we talked about this too, is that you had a lot to share and a lot of the story, and a lot of other people can relate to a lot of things you've gone through recently and in the past, and the knowledge you have. So, I mean,
well, like you say, with the record, the songs are very personal. I've never written anything that personal and even kind of important to me. It's about the experiences that I've been through in the past 2 years, mostly through my wife's passing, and developing a new relationship with a new person. These are very deep things. My work before the music that I did was really like good time. I want to rock and roll a night party every day, kind of. Don't want nothing but a good time. I was that kind of guy. All my hence the hair and bad clothes and things. But
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, yeah. And these are very personal, but also I think, especially a couple of the songs on there that I think could help people in their experiences with these same happenings in their lives. Like when I was going through a lot of stuff, I felt like I was the only one. And that's where some of this material comes from, when I was home alone at night, really feeling like I was the only person on the planet Earth that had ever experienced any of this stuff. And I'm just coming apart. So I made notes, wrote songs, and I got these together. And then as I came through, you realize so many other people are going through these things too. And even I just started revisiting the hospice counseling with the hospice group, obviously, in a group setting. And, we played the songs for some of the other people, and they really, some people get a lot out of it. And I think the spirit of why I put these songs together and recorded them and put them on an old-fashioned CD for old people like us is to just share that. And I hope that somebody could get something positive out of that, some feeling from it. And I know for a fact that people have, because I've played them for people, and they are touched by them. And so I just think that it helps if I can help in that way, because I'm a helper. So if I can help anybody in that way, man, as difficult as that transition is, if I can help anybody in even the slightest way, even for just an hour or a day or a song, 3.5 minutes, man, I would like to do that.
Right.
I would like to do that. And that's what I have to give. It's a thing that I can offer, and I can create, provide, and offer. So I'd like to be able, I want to do that. If I can help, I want to.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite song on the album?
Well, there are very different songs on there. So that's it's one of those things like children. You can't.
What do you think helps?
Pick your favorite child.
You're not supposed to have.
Yeah.
Child
I've got one. I've got mine.
As far as favorite, as far as what helped the most people, what would you say? Have you gotten the most positive feedback for?
Well, it would. The opening track is it's called "Calling Your Name," and it's about when I was going through Helen's illness, and I felt so powerless. There was nothing I could do. And I couldn't connect with her. She was in a hospital in Orlando. I was in the ranch in Grant. We're, hour and a half apart.
Right.
I had to do what I had to do, and she was going through what she was, and all I wanted to do was be together and help in some way, and of course be connected. We were married for 28 years, by the way, very close. We were like John and Yoko. It was a very, very beautiful relationship. It was atypical. Most people don't get that kind of relationship, and so I was like, what can I do? I was just so helpless. And so that came to me calling. And I was like, well, just call your name. Like out into the cosmos or something. It was like a prayer. People, talk about thoughts and prayers and that sort of thing.
Right.
Maybe it was something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's a thought and a prayer. I didn't think of it that way now, but now that I'm saying it, maybe it's
kind of the epiphany like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
So this is that song.
We can play it now or not.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna keep it up. I'm just gonna get a little taste of it.
It's funny that you that you mention your story and your music, and not knowing how people are gonna receive it, and we discussed before the show when we were having lunch. I had a sister that passed away 10 years ago. And I did the Space Coast Music Festival, which I'm sure you're aware of, familiar with. And I did originals that I wrote years and years ago and up until recent stuff. And I found myself having to tell the audience, like, look, this is a singer-songwriter festival, and I'm going to sing stories about my life. There's been some things in my life that are a little depressing. They're a little sad. They're a little, they touch my heart, and I'm hoping that, I can reach out to other people. And my sister passing away, other tribulations and things throughout my life, that's what I write about. And, you don't know how people are going to receive it, but I had one guy come up to me afterwards and said that song about a situation that you went through, it really touched me. And he's got two young daughters with him. It was about a miscarriage that years ago, and he has 2 young daughters with him, and we talked about his situation. I was like, wow, you never know. You never know how your story and what you have to say might truly reach out to somebody else.
You never know. You never know. And if it could help somebody, it could be your art, and still, if other people find it, art is meant to touch people in some way, up to their interpretation. They can interpret it any way they want.
Right.
And that is good art,
right?
I think. And also, I maintain that art is not art until you give it away. If I was to sit here with 300 songs in a book, well, okay, that's cool. Then maybe 100 years from now, it'll be unearthed and in some archaeological dig, and they'll say, "Wow, this guy had a way with words," or whatever. But now in the here and now, if I don't give that away, it's not art. It doesn't exist to me. I've known people that have apartments full of hundreds of their paintings that they've done, and they've never exhibited. They never gave one away. They never sold them. They just keep them to themselves. I have a buddy who's a sculptor. A sculptor.
He's a sculptor?
Yeah, he's a sculptor.
He doesn't say much.
He doesn't get around much.
Here, by the way.
Yeah.
Downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sitting out in his car in the 95 right now. No wonder everybody's backed up. No, he's a sculptor, but he can't bear to give his stuff away or to sell it or whatever. And I don't believe it's art until it can be given away. And other people, they have to take their interpretation. Or I used to say always in my day as a rock performer, I was fortunate enough to tour the world in a rock band for years, and it's a very great life. If you're in your 20s, kids, guys, if you're in your 20s, take your guitar, go to Europe, work it out when you get there. Believe me, you'll thank me for this. Yeah, you'll thank me for this. Go to Europe. But I always said that if you're going to stand under the lights, you've got to be ready for people to throw stuff at you. If you're going to take that position and you decide, okay, here's me, here's my art, people are going to throw stuff at you. It's not all fun and games. You got to be ready to plant your feet and take your hits and let your art be what it is to them, not what it is to you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's art. That's a little bit. I mean, hey, I could go on, but why don't we just wrap it up here, guys? Where we
wrap it up?
Yeah,
okay,
let's
so,
wrap it up. It's been fun.
We're about at an hour.
Okay.
I
told you.
So this one, this was, the start of something, and however often you want to do it, it's completely up to you. How often you want to come in, you want to have some subjects you want to
I'll
talk
be back
about.
at 6.
Okay. Hey,
yeah.
great. Get a couple drinks and then come back in and talk. No, it was really great having you, and I know we didn't really plan on what we were going to say. I know we talked, and I didn't write anything down. This is the first time you just gave me your CD downstairs, so didn't have a chance to listen to it. I mean, of course, there's more I'd like to talk and unearth with you, and a lot. There's a lot more. I mean, that it's hard to condense a lifetime of discussion into one 1 hour podcast topic. So I'd look forward to having you guys in again on the Whatever Dude podcast. And so if you want to come back, we'd be happy to have you. And we also live stream this, so you're free to log back into Facebook and watch it that way before we make it an actual podcast, and maybe share it with your friends. Totally up to you. But it's been I definitely look forward to where this could go. I mean, you're an awesome guy, and you have a lot of knowledge to impart and experience, and you're good at balancing the maudlin with the with the irreverent and the humorous, and so I think I look forward to having you in again, good sir, and it's been great. So thank you for coming in.
Well, thanks so much for having me. And as you said earlier, if we're going to close up with a strong piece of advice, I want to send this out to all the young guys and even young gals out there. If I've learned one thing in this life, if I can impart one piece of wisdom, if you can hear this voice in your head, when you're drinking whiskey, stay off the roof.
I think we'll leave it with that. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you, John Leach.
Thank you,
Josh
John.
Doyle as a
John.
panelist.
Rock on.
And
Yeehaw.
I'm Anthony Height. We will see you guys next time.
Thanks again, honey.
Papa. Bye-bye. I mean, not Papa. I don't know why I said Papa.